stuff. Okay. All right. So we're talking about centers of intelligence. We all have all three centers, no matter what triad we're a part of. We can all receive wisdom through these centers, but we can also block wisdom coming through these centers. So tonight, what I'd like to start with is by talking about each of the centers, the wisdom that can come through, and what might block that wisdom from coming through. Then we'll take a look at how it plays out in our Enneagram personality patterns and look at through each of the specific types. So first, I want to start with a centering practice. First, because centering practices are really good before receiving Enneagram knowledge, just so you can really get it. But also specifically for tonight, it's going to be a great way for us to see and experience these centers for ourselves. So go ahead and get comfortable. If you can, put your feet on the floor in an upright position. Get settled. Bring the attention in and down. As you get settled in the body, start by just paying attention to the breath and follow it. See where it goes. Breathe deeply into the belly. And as you get comfortable, bring your attention to your feet and see what sensations are going on in your feet. Are they pressed up against something, maybe floor or your shoes? What texture is it? What temperature? Maybe you can feel air, socks. Just notice what's going on. And then move your attention slowly up the body, noticing any sensations that come up. It might be temperature, maybe cold or hot. Could be tense or relaxed. Feel free to relax if you want to, or just be curious with the tension. Maybe you feel tingles or pressure. Just be with whatever comes up. Moving up to the belly. Feel like your belly is a big bowl filled with water. Just be grounded right there. And be curious about your torso. What's the temperature like? Anything tense or relaxed? Maybe you have tenseness in the shoulders or the neck. Again, feel free to relax and let go. or to just be curious and notice. Now that we're landed in the body, appreciating some of that vitality and stillness, the heart center can begin to come online. Then you might place your hands over your chest if it helps you feel it a bit more. You might feel some warmth or tenderness, maybe a feeling of peace, love. Be with whatever's arising. Just give it space. Even if you don't feel anything, give it space. Tell it it's welcome. Just observe whatever happens to be going on. And now move your attention up to your head, in the space above your eyes, maybe the top of your crown. Notice what's happening with your thoughts. And rather than getting attached to any one thought, just watch them go by. Notice the quality. Is it speedy or slow today? You might notice thoughts from earlier in the day, and you can let them go. Let them go past, or let them fall, or tap them with a feather, and they might pop. Whatever allows you to not hold on to those thoughts so tightly. And as we notice the thoughts, we realize that we are not our thoughts, that we can observe them without getting lost. The space between the thoughts. You're ready. Back to the room. So, in this centering practice, we can experience what it's like to touch each of those centers of intelligence. Let me move to looking at the body center of intelligence and talk about that a little bit. So, what does the body center of intelligence bring us? What wisdom can we get here? We get a gut knowing, that sensation in your gut that tells you something that you need to do or something's not right. And we can access the wisdom that is held in the body. So the body center of intelligence, that's where we get gut knowing, access to the wisdom held in the body. The body is really amazing because the thing about the other centers of intelligence is that they have limited capacity in some ways. They can't take in absolutely everything from the world around us. You only are able to think about a few things at any one time, or maybe just one thing. But all of the cells in your body can hold experiences. The body really does keep the score. And so it'll have wisdom that you can't find any other way. It also helps us to discern boundaries, what boundaries are right for us. The body will tell you when, oh, someone said something and that's not okay with me. Now, what boundary am I going to set to help take care of my space, my boundaries, and make sure I can function in this world well? And the boundaries are always, they're personal, they're different for each person, and they can be different in different moments. But the body will always tell you when a boundary has been crossed so that you can do something about that. The body knows instinctively what action is needed. It's tied to the actions that we do, and it gives us the willpower to do the necessary action. The will to do it just arises naturally. We don't have to create it when the body center is online. It also connects us to our instinctual drives. The drive for self-preservation. It tells us when we're hungry, when we're cold, when we need to do something about our physical well-being. It helps us to navigate social spheres, to say, oh, this person doesn't feel safe, or this person does, and help us find our place within society. And it helps us find our passion and what really lights us up, that turns us on, and what we are drawn to, what we are attracted to, that helps light our fire. And if you come back on June 17th, I will be talking more about those instinctual drives. But it's our body center that they come through. And our body center intelligence also allows us to truly experience life by being present. The body can't be anything other than present. And I've heard people say that when you are at the end of life, what you will remember are the moments that you were truly present for. And I think that makes sense. When we are truly present with experiences, they land and they can be powerful and things that we can really remember. Versus if we just kind of rush through something or we're thinking about other things, we might miss it. Ways in which body intelligence can be blocked. One thing we can do that kind of gets in the way of body intelligence is if we have too much activity. So we're actually blocking access to some of this wisdom that might come through because we're keeping the body always busy, always on the move, always doing something. There's never a time where we can pause and experience the stillness because it's within that vibrant stillness that we were experiencing just a few minutes ago that the wisdom can come through. And when we have too much activity, the will to act that I was talking about, the fact that the body gives us the willpower to act, that gets transformed into impulsivity. We act before the wisdom has reached us. And when we look at how the body can tell us about what actions are the right actions to take, when we have too much activity, that might make those actions bigger than they need to be, possibly causing problems. Kind of similar for boundaries, because we're not listening to what boundaries the body actually is asking for, we might make them too big and push people away and miss out on things as a result. Or we can block body intelligence by numbing out, by just not feeling the body at all, just closing down those lines of communication. And we might do that for a good reason. Sometimes what the body tells us is unpleasant. And so we learn, oh, I can just numb that unpleasantness. But when we numb down one part of this center of intelligence, or really any of them, we close down all of it. So we can't feel the pain, but we also can't feel the pleasure. And when we numb out the body, that willpower that allows us to act gets dampened so that we struggle to act sometimes. It can cause procrastination, or yeah, just struggles doing what we know that we need to do. And when it comes to boundaries, you might find, if you've taken this numbing out approach with your body, that either you don't really have any boundaries, you're just kind of porous, and that makes it hard to move through the world. Or you might have kind of these hot and cold boundaries. You'll have like doormat mode, where you let everyone walk on you because you don't know what your boundaries are. And then it'll swing the other direction to sudden stubbornness, and not necessarily for any good reason. It's kind of erratic. Um, you'll also get similar erraticness when it comes to those instinctual drives. So you might see, say, an unhealthy 9 who's numbed out the body, and they're going to the kitchen looking for a snack, but they're not hungry. It's just kind of erratic. And the truth that the body is trying to tell you, when you're numbing it out, you're ignoring that truth. You might be ignoring it either subconsciously or consciously, but either way, it's like the truth tries to come through, but it just can't reach you. And you can also block body intelligence by restricting it. So you're still connecting to the body and you're not keeping it too busy, but you're restricting it by suppressing the true impulses and trying to replace it with what you should do, what you should feel, the boundaries you should have. And when you do this restriction, it garbles up any communication that the body is trying to send you. So information about boundaries, you might just replace them with what boundaries you think should be there. And that beautiful willpower that the body can naturally give you, with your restrictions, you don't really have access to it anymore. And so you start replacing it with personal willpower, white knuckling, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. But that's extremely costly when you could have access to this amazing free flowing energy that the body naturally has. And again, you don't get the truth from the body because you're not listening to it. You're restricting it. You're constricting it. And finally, and this will be true for all the centers of intelligence, but the center can be taken over by the ego's agenda. So what do I mean by this? When the ego, and this is all the different personality patterns will have their own agendas. And when the agenda is present, it starts filtering out the center of intelligence and only taking in certain bits. So, for example, you could be a type 1 with the agenda of, I want to do the right thing, and you're focused on doing the right thing, and you're filtering out anything the body's telling you by looking at, is this the right thing or the wrong thing? And you can miss the impulse that the body might have. Oh, this is time to rest, or this is time to play. Those are needs that the body has. And by not hearing those from the body is not going to be in the best shape that it could, and is not going to be helping you live the best life you can. Or let's say you're a 7, right? And the 7's ego agenda is coming out as, I want to have fun, pleasurable experiences. I want to plan these experiences that I'm going to have. So body center, you're here to help me experience the best that life has to offer. Great. And you'll see those, but it might be that your gut has a sensation, ooh, this person's not trustworthy, or ooh, This situation might need your attention. Something might be wrong here, and you might not notice because you're using the body center for the ego's agenda rather than allowing that clear line of communication to tell you what it needs to tell you. So, to receive body center intelligence, we want to first be present with the body, move into the present moment. This means letting go of thinking about the past or thinking about the future and just be present. That's where the body center lives. And second, you want to look at sensations. Feeling your feet is a really great one for looking at sensations because they're the farthest away from your other two centers. So you can really feel that attention moving to the farthest point in your body. And the sensation of the rhythm of your breath, that rhythm reminds you of the livingness, the aliveness of the body. And being present with any sensations that arise, how it feels. Sometimes I really like to just feel the cells in my body fill in and settle into the present moment. That settling, that it's not so peaceful that you're kind of numb and you start getting sleepy. It's an alert but settled place so that you can receive the wisdom. Something that's true for all the centers is if there's too much activity, you can't hear it. And if there's too little activity, you won't receive it. So kind of there's this sweet spot where you receive subtle feelings. And that's where you can receive that body center intelligence. And you can do this at any point throughout the day if you need to just recenter and see what it has to tell you. All right. Next center, the heart center of intelligence. The heart center, what does it bring to us? It brings us emotions as messengers. Every single emotion that exists within us as a human has a message that it can bring us. And getting to know those messages can really help point you in the right direction. You know, jealousy teaches us what we want. Love teaches us what's important to us, who's important to us. Anger teaches us what's not okay, what we should fight. And looking at these messages that the emotions are giving us is really important. Not necessarily always acting on them, but always hearing the message. You know, if I feel a reaction, doesn't necessarily means I need to act out that reaction, but hearing it, processing it, that's going to be really important. And it certainly changed my life a lot. If there's any emotion you truly hate having, look up and see evolution-wise what is the purpose of it? What is the message it brings? The next thing the Heart Center helps us with is emotional processing. So sometimes, depending on our relationship with the Heart Center, we might be afraid of going into certain emotions. I don't want to feel sadness. I don't want to feel, jealousy, whatever it is. There's a fear sometimes that we will never stop feeling it. If we get into it, we'll get stuck there. But if you have a good connection with your heart center and you use it to process the emotion, you can feel it transform or release. When it knows you heard it, when it knows it's been experienced, when it feels seen, you will feel it in your body. It usually takes about a minute if you're just present with it and being with it in the ways I'm going to describe being present with the heart center can do. And it allows you to know yourself more deeply. The heart center knows you. And when you do connect with it, you get to know who you are as a unique individual, what is important to you, what do you value, what makes you run. and what's important to keep in mind. It helps create that compass so you can adjust your life in a way that best suits you as a unique individual. And it allows you to truly connect with others and yourself. This is the relationship center where you can use empathy and connection to reach out and have someone reach back and experience possibly the most important thing in life, love. And that's all through the heart center. So, how can the heart center be blocked? How can we block intelligence from coming through? The first way sometimes we block it is by avoiding feeling any emotions. For some of you, this might be the habit that you're used to. So when you go into your heart, it might feel empty or nothing or just cold, or you might feel silence. This is the way I related to it for many, many years. And that's fine. It's a fine place to start. But it definitely blocks that intelligence I was talking about from coming through. Next, sometimes we tell ourselves stories that bring up emotions. So rather than just allowing the heart to just react as it's going to, as it's naturally going to do, we tell ourselves stories. We remind ourselves, "Ooh, remember when Sally rejected me in the third grade? That feels like what Jessica is doing to me right now." Or we might tell ourselves a story, "Ooh, that person meant to be mean to me. They were planning this and they were doing this on purpose." By telling ourselves these stories, it's kind of hijacking the head center and making the heart center louder. And remember what we talked about with the body center, when the center of intelligence is too loud, we can't hear the wisdom it's trying to tell us. So when we're telling ourselves a story of, someone being mean to us, for example, we might not be able to notice that our heart is also bringing up caring or empathy for that person, because it makes the emotions larger than life, larger than they normally would be. And it's not helpful for the things we're talking about in terms of releasing those emotions, processing them, because as we're telling stories, they get bigger and bigger and bigger, rather than hearing the message and allowing it to clear. And the story usually isn't the whole story anyway, right? Sometimes it filters out what we're seeing, and we might not see the whole thing. And then related to that is getting swept away in a feeling, to being completely consumed by it. Again, this when it gets really, really loud, we think we're feeling the feeling. We think, oh, this is my heart center, because I can feel this so loudly. When yes, it's your heart center, but it's not the wisdom of the heart center coming through. It's being used for something else. And sometimes, for those of us who have the habit of getting swept away in feelings, when you do start to tap into the more subtle heart, the quieter heart that has that intelligence, it might feel like it's missing something. It might feel like, oh, this isn't how it's supposed to normally feel. But it's those subtle feelings that have the most intelligence that can help you with your life. And acting out an emotion, right? If we think about anger, it's like, I'm in touch with my anger. I'm really angry and I yell and I scream and I throw things. Why isn't the anger processing? Why am I not getting the message that anger is trying to give me? Because I'm acting it out rather than just being present with it. Things that we can do rather than getting swept away in the feeling or acting out the emotion, if we just are present with it and use that observer mind. What am I noticing? What am I sensing? What am I noticing? What am I sensing? And create a little bit of space between you and that feeling so you can be present with it, but not become it or act it out. That can help you receive the intelligence it's trying to send you rather than getting stuck and repeating the same emotion again and again. Another way we can block heart intelligence is by redirecting the emotional energy outward. And this is something that especially twos might be familiar with, but it's the idea of instead of being with the emotion and just being present with the emotion, it's using that heart energy to go outward and take care of other people, to do people pleasing, to try and take care of their emotions rather than your own. Because when you're pushing it outwards and trying to take care of their emotions, again, you're not receiving the message that your own emotions have to tell you about you. This is how you know yourself. And if you're sending all of that energy outward, you're going to have a really hard time getting to know and love yourself. And finally, just like the other center, our ego's agenda can take over and filter what's coming in. We'll go over that in more detail by type later. Receiving heart center intelligence. Before connecting with your heart, what really helps is to get present in your body. I think of the heart center as a kind of like a fragile egg, especially this version of the heart center that's gentle and subtle. I think of it as an egg, and when you're present in your body, you give it a nest where it can unfold, where it feels safer to just be there in that more quiet way. So first, get present in your body. And next, that connection to the subtle heart. And it might help to put your hands over your heart to help just land your attention there. If you are that type of person that tends to experience those louder heart emotions or a more active heart, this is where you can also use that observer mind, just noticing, oh, my heart's doing this, rather than necessarily identifying with it and becoming the emotion. Then be with the sensations. If you can be present with the sensations, that's what allows the feelings to process. That's when we can be with them to receive the message and to finish that processing until we can feel it shift into a different emotion or just release. So it doesn't get stuck. I'm just going to pause again and just see if anyone has any comments or questions. All right. There are no questions. I'll keep going. Just wanted to check in with all of you. Nancy says emotions share messages. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. All right. Okay. Head center intelligence. What can we get through the head center? We can analyze situations logically and come up with solutions. The head center of all the centers is the slowest because you have to take time to analyze and think something through, but that can be a benefit. So it's good to get all of your centers of intelligence online. But this is where we can use some of those higher brain functions to help us think through things a little bit more. We also get awareness of any problems and preparation for what may come. The head center of all of the centers, the head center is the one that can think about the future the best. And so we can use it to make sure, are we planning the right things for our future? And it offers an internal guidance system. It knows what is right, what is correct, what is true. And there are certain truths that you just feel it's true. You know it's true, you feel it's true. And the head center can provide some of that clarity. Clarity is the word I'm looking for in the head center. And in the West, we often think about this as the only center of intelligence. So it's very familiar to us, but it's also, we don't always connect with it in a presentful way. We tend to connect with the head center in some of the ways I'll talk about in terms of blocking the wisdom from coming through. So it can be misused as well. Head center can be blocked. Just like the other two centers, we can see too much activity. So this might look like overthinking, anxiety, just fast racing thoughts. And when you have that loud environment in your head, it's really hard to get any true intelligence coming through. It's just kind of a chaos in there. We might also, these are just patterns that we might have. We might be one of those people that goes around in circles. You think about something and you think about it and you think about it and you never come to a conclusion. You just go around and around and around in circles with that particular thing, thinking through all the angles, but never coming to a decision. For other people, we might have a habit of having a foggy brain. I hear this from nines a lot, that it kind of just feels foggy up there, or just kind of dampened, just kind of not much going on. And that can happen when our ego is afraid of what the brain might tell us. And so it says, oh, I'm just not going to listen. That way I won't be inconvenienced by whatever it might find to be true. Because we're very comfortable doing what we've been doing. And the head center can bring us new information that might change what we're doing, and it might be uncomfortable for us. So sometimes we might get used to having a foggy brain to protect from that. Another way that head center intelligence can be blocked is if we get stuck in existing opinions. We have a judgment, we have an opinion about something. This is right, this is wrong. And the thing is, once we start attaching to an opinion, this is right, there's no place for new information to come through. There's no place for nuance to come through. There's no place for the head center to give us new wisdom because we're closing that off by attaching to this opinion. And the opinion is based on something that happened in the past, which may or may not be relevant to the situation we're in now. We only know what wisdom is relevant to us right now if we are present in a center. And looking at our existing judgments, our existing opinions won't open up those channels. And if we think about it, right, all the other people around me, I see them all day long working off existing opinions, existing judgments. These people are good, these people are bad, this is the right way to do things, this isn't. And you try and give them a different point of view, or you try and open them up to, hey, have you considered this? And they can't hear you. I see this all the time, and therefore I must also be doing this. And I think that's a great question to ask ourselves. In what place am I attached to an opinion where maybe I could be open to new information coming in? And just like the other centers, head center as well can get caught up in the ego's agenda. And so that wisdom could be filtered out or twisted. So how do we connect to the head center? The first thing we should do is cultivate stillness. Just like in the other centers of intelligence, we don't want it to be too active, but we don't want it to feel dead, right? We want to feel stillness, but alertness. And we have so many tools for meditation to help us here. We can focus on breathing as a way to just focus the mind on one thing that's present, or any other object of focus. We can also do what we were doing earlier in the meditation and focus on the space between thoughts instead of following those thoughts themselves or getting caught up in them. There's all kinds of different ways to meditate depending on what works for you, but cultivating that stillness is necessary to do first. And then we want to focus on being curious and non-judgmental to what may arise. Our ego might really not want to know something that one of these centers is trying to tell us. And by putting ourselves into a curious state, I'm curious about that. Tell me more about that, brain. Oh, I'm curious about that thought. Where did that come from? How did you form that? By being curious, you put down some of the defenses, and by being non-judgmental to what may arise, you can allow a less restricted flow from the head center so that any truth that you need to know can come to you. And try and let go of preconceived notions. This comes back to getting kind of stuck in our opinions or our judgments. If you see one of those come up and you're trying to connect to this head center, you can say, okay, I see you. What else is here? And that openness to new information. Unless you're open to new information, the head center is going to keep doing what we were talking about in the last slide. It's either going to be active or spinning or foggy. We have to be open to new information for new information to come through the head center. I know that that's kind of obvious, but I don't think we usually think that way. We think about thinking as just any action in the brain. And real thinking is open to new information. That's where the wisdom comes from. And it might help you here if you're stuck on one of these opinions or your preconceived notions. The law of three could help you here to just be able to look at a polarity and say, what else is possible? So we can see it from more of an observer perspective and open to whatever that third force might bring. I'm going to pause again and come back. So far we've covered all of the different centers, what it's like to be present in them, what it's like that frequently blocks them, what wisdom we can find in them. Any comments, questions? Anything ring true or false? Oh, Joyce, if you want to take yourself off mute.
Yeah, somewhere in here, I'm also looking at intuition, and somehow I associate intuition with more of a heart center. Or,
Mm,
I'm just curious about, and then I'm also looking, kind of like at the definitions of wisdom and instinct. Yes, instinct is that gut level, the primal, but I feel like I use intuition a lot. And I keep thinking that comes from maybe it's more like a heart wisdom. I don't know. Any comments from
mm.
anyone else on that? And um, on what, because I don't know why in looking at these terms that intuition keeps coming in to me also. And I think, where do I categorize that?
Yeah, so it depends on how we're using the terms, right? You might be using the term
Mhm.
intuition for something that's coming from the heart. Um, Most commonly, when we're looking at intuition, people will talk about a gut knowing, which might come from the gut. And actually, if you talk to Russ Hudson, and I think this is right from my experience, is it comes up through the gut, through the heart, into the head center, and that's when the intuition hits you. So I would actually say it's a combination.
That's what my husband had just told me. We talked about it. That's kind of was his definition of it today. So,
Looks like
okay.
Nancy agrees too.
Okay, good.
Okay, looks like we have something in the comments. All right, from Nancy. I find tuition is from the body through the heart into the mind. I find questions are so helpful. What am I doing? What am I feeling? What am I thinking? What does this tell me about myself? Body is innate wisdom. Body shares innate wisdom. Heart and head allows or blocks that wisdom. But if you're blocking your body sensations, no chance for the wisdom. Yeah, I would completely agree. And that's why whenever I do centering practices, I always start with the body because the body, unless the body is online, nothing else is online. Wisdom is the ocean and the body is the shore. All right. Anything else? Okay. Okay. So specifically, when we look at the specific Enneagram types, first of all, each Enneagram type has levels of health. So regardless of whatever type you are, you could be anywhere from healthy to average to unhealthy. So in the healthy levels, 1 through 3, that's when your type is present with all centers of intelligence. And it's not all the time. None of us can be present all the time, but frequently. Frequently you access the presence of those centers, and sometimes they're all connected. That's really the goal that we're trying to get to. And as we start moving down the levels to levels 2 and 3, we start to identify with one particular center, with the quality of a particular center. And that starts giving our personality a flavor. But we're still present in our centers. And that's why we have that healthy quality. Then we get to the average levels. Now, those are levels 4 through 6. And what happens when we're moving between level 3 and 4 is the center we identified with becomes skewed by the ego's agenda. I was talking about earlier how the ego's agenda can get in the way of the wisdom coming through any of the centers. So this means whatever triad you're in, if you're in the body center, if you're in the head center, the heart center, whatever that type is in, that center of intelligence is going to be probably the most blocked and certainly high up there. Even though we might feel, oh, I'm really identified with this center, actually, the wisdom that that center is trying to give you may not be available to you, especially the farther down you go. Because the farther down, starting at level 4, going all the way to 9, farther down you go, the more that ego's agenda comes in and blocks the wisdom. And there are 2 centers at this point that get recruited to support the ego's agenda. And those 2 centers are going to be different for every type. And as we get down below the average levels, as we get down to the levels 7, 8, and 9, we're really unhealthy. That's when we're not present in any center at all. We experience chaos instead of the guidance and wisdom that they could offer. We feel completely unstable, unmoored. And really, with this unhealthy level, there's not really any center we can use to support ourselves very well. We need external support at this time, and probably professional support is recommended if we start getting into those unhealthy levels. If you're curious what the healthy, average, and unhealthy levels look like to you, on the Enneagram Institute website, they have a great listing out. So you can go to your type and you can say, okay, for my type, what does healthy look like? What does average look like? What does unhealthy look like? And you can start looking for that in your life and say, okay, today, which of these levels came out? And it's usually like 2 or 3 levels come out during a day. So you can kind of see on the map where you're at and what you need. And we're going to be focusing on looking at the average levels today because, like I said, if you're unhealthy, I really recommend a therapist to help you back together. That's painful. But most of us are hanging out in the average levels most of the time. All right, so let's go through each of the types. With type 8, as we start to get down to levels 2, 3, and below, we start identifying with the body center, and particularly the aliveness that we feel in the body center is where we start identifying. And when we start to move down to the average levels, 4, 5, 6, it recruits in, the body center recruits the head center. What does that look like? The body center is there, and its agenda is I want to make it happen. I want to live large. I want to make it happen. And it recruits the head center in as kind of a to-do list and a fixer. So it's like, head center, how can you help me make it happen? Rather than telling me a new truth, I don't want to know it. I don't want to hear it. I just want you to tell me how to fix this particular situation I'm in, what I need to do next, how I can make the best out of my life. And so when we start to see that recruiting, it's blocking off the body center because the body center isn't giving you the wisdom that would normally come through, the wisdom of here's a right action that you could do, and here's the willpower you need to make it happen. Instead, it's like do, and all that energy. And the head center, instead of telling you, here's a truth that you need to hear, and it may not be a truth that you want to hear. Instead, it gets co-opted to this like fixer problem solver, and you don't hear those other truths, and it starts feeling like your truth is the only truth. And we can kind of get stuck there as eights. But what's missed out? While we're in the average levels, the heart center is not in the picture in terms of the ego's agenda and what it's recruiting to do. And so that kind of gives us a window in. A lot of times with eights, if you appeal to their heart, their emotions, they talk about eights as these teddy bears on the inside with these really soft, warm, gooey hearts. Because their heart center, while they don't tend to go to it very often, usually, especially in the average levels, they don't have pattern, they don't have a habit of that disconnection, of the blocking by the personality pattern. And so you might have an easier time coming through by trying to connect to the heart center and presence and starting there, and then work on getting the body center and the head center more in line. Type 9. So type 9, as we start moving down from level 1, as we start getting into 2 and 3 and below, this personality type is identifying with the body center in terms of the grounded quality that we can feel in the body. And as we start moving down to the average levels, the 4, 5, and 6, the types 9, 3, and 6 are going to do something interesting. These triangle types. Instead of the body working together with another center to work on its agenda, we take the body center and just lock it away in a box. So as a type 9, I'm identified with the body, the groundedness and the peace that it could bring, and even the boundaries, the willpower, all of that, I'm identified with that, but I'm not there. I've locked that away in a box. And the head center and the heart center are recruited to take care of the agenda. And one agenda you could say for type 9 is to seek unity. So what does this look like? This looks like type 9, you might experience a lot of time being in this kind of dreamer mode, just spending time inside your head, thinking about things that make you happy, pleasant experiences that you've had, maybe what you could do to support other people and kind of looking at them to try and seek that unity. And then you'll feel, so that you've got the dreamer mode with the head and the heart when they're seeking that agenda. And then you might flip suddenly to be in the body mode. You're moving into that locked away body center, but you're not really able to use it, and you probably have that numbing habit so that nothing's coming through. And so when we're in the average levels, because the head center and the heart center are wrapped up in this dreamlike state of trying to seek unity and peace, but not actually by engaging the body at all, number one, we've got to get reconnected with the body center. The body center isn't currently recruited. It is tamped down, but if we can reconnect, that can be the way in to start connecting to all three centers in a presentful way, in a mindful way. Type 1. Type 1, as we start moving down the levels from 1 to 2 to 3, it's going to identify with the body center in terms of doing the right thing. That part of the body center that wants to move through the world with integrity and make things right. As we start getting down to the average levels, as the 4s, the 5s, the 6s, the body center in wanting to do the right thing and having that agenda brings in the heart center. And this looks like a passion for what the ego has decided is right. This is the right way to do something, and I am passionate that people do it. It's not necessarily listening to what is actually the right thing that the body is telling me to do, or what do I actually care about in my heart, which is what's driving me. Instead, it moves you into that restricted area I was talking about earlier, of we're going to restrict the body and make sure it only does this, it only does that. And that's how I'm going to show my heart center, but it kind of muffles the heart center in doing that. Type 2, as we start moving down the levels from 1 to 2 to 3, we start identifying with the heart center, and particularly the part of the heart center that connects with others, that builds those connections, that wants the love, that wants the connections, that wants to reach outward, which is wonderful. And then we start getting into the average levels, and that's when the ego agenda starts coming up. And instead of just allowing the heart center to move freely and to give us that wisdom and what should be done next, it kind of hijacks that. No, we're going to use the heart center just to build connections, which starts to come out as people pleasing. And it's going to recruit the body center to do it by going into this dutiful mode of I'm going to take my heart's desire to build connections, and that is what action I'm going to put into the body. So the body, instead of being just present and allowing whatever that intuition to come up, now the body is only supposed to be engaged in doing things for other people. And so what is not in the picture? What's not in the picture is the head center. And for type 2, and this is also true for type 1, we can come through and try and access that head center. Find the stillness, find the curiosity, and see what the head center can tell us. Also, for all of the ones that's missing, if you are a helping professional or you have a friend that's this type, that can be the best way to reach them too. So with types 1 and 2, since there's no head center that's being caught up in this whole agenda, you can say a truth and see if that lands. For type 8, right? Um there's no heart center that's being wrapped up in that agenda. We can bring in an emotion. And this is going to be true as we go around the whole board. I know that I've definitely found that to be true in some of my closer connections. When you have a type where the heart center isn't recruited for the agenda in the average types, if you just say something like, this is hurting me, or I love you, sometimes that can make it through so you can have a more direct connection to wake that person up. Type 3. As we go through the levels, starting at level 1, as we start to move into 2 and 3, we're identifying with the heart, and particularly the quality of the heart that is valuable, that is fulfilling their purpose and being who they are as an individual, as a unique and beautiful, lovable person, which is wonderful. And type 3, again, being one of those triangle types, 9, 3, and 6, what it's going to do is as it moves into the more average levels, it's going to put the heart center in a box, lock it up, and it recruits the body center and the head center into its agenda. So it's trying to get this agenda to try and be that heart quality of that valuable and lovable individual, but it's trying to achieve this agenda to achieve success through the body and the head, which means that the heart is never going to be able to receive it. Even if you can use the body and the head center to do all these amazing things and achieve all these things and say, look at my resume, look at all those things I've done. Even if people do love you for that or for who you actually are, you can't actually receive it because the heart is locked up in a box. And so you've got this, when you're in that mode, that body and head center together, it's that I'm going to do things, I'm going to make it happen. And you don't want to have your heart in there because the moment your heart comes in, it's like, no, I don't want to feel those things. Those are going to get in the way of doing what I need to do. And yet, for type 3s, underneath this layer over the heart, there's a lot of feeling there, but it's tamped down a lot of the times in the average levels. And so just like with the type 8, being that it's recruited the body and the head center, the best way in is to start by connecting with the heart center. And I know that's really hard as a type 3, but start slow and just start checking in. It might be the case that when you first try and check in with the heart center, you get nothing back, and that's okay. Just keep reaching out if that's what happens. So we come to type 4. Type 4, as we start moving down the levels, we start identifying with the heart center. And it's the quality of the heart center that is authentic, that feels what we're really feeling. And really, I mean, if we look at what the heart center is there to tell us, it's to help us know ourselves. That's what this type 4 is trying to do and kind of succeeding at when we're in the healthy levels. We're connected to the heart center and we identify with the heart center and we're trying to look for that authenticity and emotional connection to help know ourselves. But as we start moving into the average level, the heart is going to recruit the head center into this agenda. And what does that look like? That looks like what I was talking about before, where we can tell ourselves stories. So the heart says, oh, I really want to experience these authentic emotions, and I want to make it bigger and bigger, so I really know that they're there. Head center, tell me reasons why. Tell me stories of rejection. Tell me, stories of when I really felt strong emotions so I can really feel them and really feel it course through me. And of course, we're connected to the heart center, but not in a way that can bring the wisdom. Because what our true, authentic emotions are is what's here now in the present. And when we're telling stories, that takes us to the past. I heard about a type 4, and she was taking a walk through the woods, remembering this old romance that she had with a boyfriend and how he jilted her and how horrible she felt. And she suddenly woke up and was present and saw this amazing sunset and just thought, whoa, I was so stuck in this old story of the past, I didn't realize the beauty that was right in front of me. I almost missed it. And that's the authentic emotion, that awe that she was feeling at the sunset. That's what her heart was really going to come through and tell her. But she almost covered it up with these agendas getting in the way. Type 5. We start at the level 1 of healthiness, and as we start going down to 2 and 3, we're identifying with the head center. That part of the head center that accumulates knowledge and becomes competent and helps us feel like we really know something. And we can really handle it because we know more and more and more about it. Helps us feel competent. And as we start to get into the average levels, that's when we start getting disconnected from the head center and what the intelligence is trying to give us. And we start recruiting the heart center into it. So rather than necessarily simply being present and curious, we can go down rabbit holes and we can go down in an effort to become knowledgeable and competent rather than just be with what is here in the present. And that can sometimes cause this wanting to remove ourselves from the present. And how does the head and the heart come together to do this? It looks like being passionate, right? We take the heart's passion about whatever it is we're studying or trying to become knowledgeable about. And of course, what's not there, what's missing, is the body. What we're trying to do with the 5, 6, and 7, we're trying to feel safe in this world. But when the body's not there, as it is for type 5, we don't have the experience. We're not just out there actually living, actually going through what we need to go through. And when we have experience, we realize actually we didn't need to spend all that energy getting all that competency and spend all of that time withdrawn. And we can actually start being more a part of the world and the way that our body is telling us would be helpful. And it's actually similar for type 4, getting the body involved to help with that withdrawnness. Because the thing about type 4 is we can get stuck in the past really easily at type 4 with those past stories. And connecting to the body brings us into the present. And that's where the real authenticity is. And that's where 4s can find relief from suffering because we're actually experiencing things. And 4s, 5s, and 9s that aren't in that body all that often, when they can connect, they realize that they don't need to be creating the experience they're trying to create. The unity is already there. We have enough knowledge, and the authentic emotions are here in the present. Type 6. Type 6 is also going to start identifying at the head center as we start to move into levels 2 and 3. And it's the part of the head center that has awareness for what will make us feel safe. And the agenda of the head center starts to be, as we start moving into the average levels, instead of being with the head center as it is and actually receiving the information that would help us be safe, we put that head center in a box. Just like we saw with 9 and 3, we just put it in a box and say, okay, the real wisdom that could come through the head center, that inner guidance I'm really looking for, I'm not going to listen to it. I'm going to shut down that communication. And instead, I'm going to attach to the heart and body centers and have them help me with this agenda. And so the head center, instead of that clarity and curiosity we can see when we're actually connected to the head center, instead, the head center feels like it's racing or going around in circles. And we recruit the heart and body center to go into this dutiful mode. Or sometimes in the counterphobic 6, it can just be this doing where you just take an action and that will clear the head for a little while until the fear comes back. But this going into, okay, I want to feel safe. I'm going to recruit in the heart center and the body center. Okay, help me feel safe. That's where we get this type 6 trying to be dutiful to other people, be loyal to other people, and hoping that somehow that's going to help them feel safe. And while that might keep you safe, depending on who you ally with, it's not ever going to help you feel safe, because feeling safe is something you can only get through a connection with the head center. For types 3, 6, and 9, we're all trying to solve a problem, but we're locking up that one center that will help us actually solve the problem, actually feel safe, actually feel in unity, actually feel valuable. And so, just like those other two types, connecting with the head center is critical for type 6 to start getting the centers back online. And finally, type 7. As we go from the level 1 to level 2 and 3, we start identifying with the head center. And it's particularly the part of the head center that is looking for options and freedom. When I'm in this part of the head center, it feels like the whole top of my head just comes off, and it's just like a prism of rainbow light coming up out into the world, which is great. And levels 2 and 3, that can be wonderful. But then as we start getting down into the average levels, the head center is going after its agenda of, I don't necessarily want what is here for me, whatever the head wisdom has to give me. What I want is a lot of good options. And I'm going to recruit in the body center to help me with those positive experiences. I'm always trying to generate these positive experiences. And so the body center no longer is able to just give that the 7 the information, the wisdom that it has to bring. Instead, it's having to make sure to look for those experiences. And it's not even necessarily totally in them when the experiences are happening, because we're not connected. Instead, it's stuck in the future looking for good options, helping out the head center. And again, what's missing is the heart center. And so often the way in for a type 7 is just so powerful when you say something from the heart. When you express your emotions to a type 7, or when the 7 connects with their own heart, it can be incredibly powerful and shift things. Wake up. And Some of you might have noticed but if we look at which types are recruiting which centers of intelligence when we're at average levels, anyone know what we're looking at here? Recognize these triads? So these triads are the stances or the Hornevian triads. So 9, 4, and 5 are what's called withdrawn. Why are they withdrawn? Because they're not really interacting with the body center. And so if we can bring in the body center, then we can start to bring ourselves online. Don Riso was a 4, and he talked a lot about how important it was for him to go on runs. That bringing of the experience into things that helps bring you forward. I've also heard for these types, it's really helpful to have a strong inhale into the chest to really bring that life, the body, and bring our attention there. Now we look at types 1, 2, and 6, the ones that recruit the heart and the body center. And these are our dutiful types. And what's really helpful for a dutiful type is to engage with the head center, to be open and curious. For type 1, when we're living in our ego's agenda of doing what's right, we're not necessarily open to what our head center knows is right for this moment, which may not be the same as what we are trying to enforce on the world. Type 2, really connecting with your inner type 5 can be super, super helpful and help clear out some of the muddiness that can happen when we get stuck in the heart and body center following an agenda. And 3, 7, and 8, the assertive types, you can see why they're assertive. They've got that huge body center energy and the very directed head center energy, and they're both wrapped into this agenda. And what are they missing? They're missing the heart. That softness and tenderness and slow you down and get you grounded in yourself. All right, practice connecting the centers. Before we do that, I just want to stop and give us another moment. If anyone wants to make comments or ask questions. Sorry about my lighting. I didn't think this through properly. The head center was not properly online today. All right, let's get back to it.
It makes a lot of sense, Sophia. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, the whole experience of trying to find the solution to a problem and really, as a 7, focusing on thinking through it and just using the head, and then having a really hard time coming to a resolution until you tap into the heart and think about, but what would my feelings be like with this situation?
Hmm. Makes sense.
Thanks for making that so obvious.
Absolutely. Okay, practice connecting to the centers. So I put this together with some of the things we can do to practice connecting to the centers, especially if it's a missing center, one that's not caught up in the agenda. And feel free if you guys have other ones as well. But these are the ones that I've heard of that seem to work for many people. So connecting to the body center. So for us, 4s, 5s, and 9s, and anyone else who feels like, oh, I experience a lot of blocking in my body center. Movement is key. Movement can be the way in. People talk about running, um, playing games. I do frequent dancing. I think this is really important if body center is one of those that you need to be working on. Body work. So this could be massage or maybe Reiki healing, acupuncture, anything that works directly with the body can also be a way to help. Russ Hudson, a 5, famously uses a lot of massages, and I know another 5 that finds that really, really helpful. Paying attention to your sensations. You can do this just as you go about your day. What are your 5 senses telling you? And that brings you back into your present, back into your body. And getting practice asking your gut questions. And just, what should I do? What do you want? And then just placing your attention down into your gut and see if anything comes back. And typically what I find is it either comes back with something really fast or not at all. And then I just need to ask it again later. Looking at the different ways we can block these centers. Some of us have a habit of it's being too loud, and some it's just too quiet. And for me, the gut was so quiet and numb. And so it took me a while of asking my gut questions before I got responses back. And you can get creative with this. I've heard of a lot of different things that people have done with their bodies. So one woman, can't remember what type she was, but throughout her day, she would just do a body scan. Where am I tense? And then when she found where she was tense, she relaxed and at the same time had an intention of letting go. And so using the body to actually let go of a lot of the things she was holding on to. For me, I created some games for myself to practice asking my gut questions. So one is if I'm going on a walk or a bike ride, I could come up to a fork in the road and ask my gut which direction it wants to go. Sometimes you have to like close my eyes, put my hands on my gut and see what it comes up with. But that was really helpful because it's a low stakes way to practice building that connection. Actually, you could probably get creative on all of these, but I've heard of a lot of different creative body ones. Connecting to the heart center. If you want to practice more connection there, when a feeling arises, practice that tender presence and not flinching away from the feeling, not trying to shut it down, not getting caught up in it, acting it out or making it bigger. Just presence with the feeling. See if you can spend a little bit of time and watch it transform. Also, it helps with the heart to welcome emotions as messengers. For me, the heart was another center where I kind of felt that emptiness, no sensation rather than too much. And it helped me to look at all of these different emotions and say, okay, fear is there for this reason and it's good. Anger is there for this reason and it's good. Guilt is there for this reason and it's good. And to actually say, I welcome whatever emotion is inside me. And when I'm shown an emotion, I say, thank you. Thank you, heart, for showing me this emotion. So it's just kind of that reframing and welcoming was helpful. And one practice that I've done that has been helpful for me to get in contact with my heart is hand over heart. And I just repeat, right now, my heart is longing for. And I fill in the blank and I do this for a couple minutes and it's very illuminating. And again, helps just build that connection. So you can start getting sensations to your heart if you're not used to getting sensations there, or you're able to connect with something a little bit more subtle if you're used to those really loud heart expressions. Head center. Most importantly is to practice curiosity. We talked about how The head center intelligence is there to get new information. But most of us use the head center as a way to just reiterate the old information and the old ideas that we've had before. So by intentionally saying, I'm going to get curious about this. Why did I do that? I'm curious, rather than why did I do that? But practice coming at it with curiosity. If you're one of the types that feels very little sensation in the head, where I talked about foggy brain or kind of little sensation coming up there, you could try using an analysis tool to make a decision. Just practice, maybe a pros and cons list or anything else. There are a bazillion tools to help you make decisions like that, just to help getting those gears moving. If for you tend to not go there very often. And finally, noticed when you're gripping onto an opinion, really making it solidified for you, and maybe make space for openness. This is an area where once you know that you're really holding on to that opinion, the law of three can really help. What is the opinion that I am having? What is the opposite of that opinion? And if I just hold both with neutrality and allow myself to get into an observer mind, is there anything new that arises within that? Sometimes people have said it also helps to think, okay, for the opposite of my opinion, where is the 3% truth there? Because just about anything, there's 3% of truth there somewhere. So, if you are saying, everything I did was right, everything they did was wrong, you might notice, okay, where's the 3% where what they did wasn't wrong? Or where's the 3% where what I did wasn't right? And that just makes just a little bit more space to open that up. And I think that might be my last slide. Yep. All right. Where are we at? Wonderful. So it's time. If there are any other questions, comments. I see something in the chat. As a 2, inquiry at 6 releases pride and supports humility. Oh, I like that. I like that. Anything else? Hey, Tammy, did you have something?
No, just want to be available when everybody gives their comments, because this was an excellent presentation. I do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's actually time for that now. There are no other questions. Let's go into closing comments and nuggets, and we'll go around the room and see what your closing nugget might be. I saw you come off mute. Joyce, would you like to go first?
Just that, this was just a very, very helpful presentation, gave me a lot of tools that I can use, in a very practical way. So thank you.
Wonderful. And Nancy, I know you can't talk, so maybe you can type something into chat. And Tammy, we can hear from you. All right, in chat, Nancy says, great reminders. So important. Yes, yes, yes.
And I would say a lot of new learning. So thank you for really
Good.
offering some alternative ways to think about this.
Well, I'm glad you got new stuff. New
Yeah.
coming through the head center. We love it. Well, I really appreciate you and everyone else who joined us earlier. And I'm going to close out our session a little early. Give you some time back. And thank you all for coming. Bye.